All right, we're trying a new mic right now. Can you let me know if you can hear me?
And please let me know if you can hear me too, okay?
Nobody yet.
Okay.
We'll give it a minute to let some people get on.
Yeah.
There's one. Reggie Du Bois.
All right, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
We're testing out a new mic.
We're testing out this mic. Please let me know if you can hear me, and also if you can hear Neil.
Yeah, here's me. Can you hear me?
I got it good.
Can you say if you can hear Neil? Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Can you guys hear Neil? Yes, we can hear you both.
All right. Okay, so we're going to start this and do the last update again because a lot of people were saying they couldn't hear. We went in today and the judge had ruled on the motions while she was not in the courtroom. She wanted to rule on these motions and put her decree out there, not in front of we the people. She didn't want to hear any arguments. She just ruled for the prosecution. So she has limited our defense and limited the questions that we could ask the jurors. I believe we couldn't ask any questions about the Constitution, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. I did feel that our lawyers did a pretty good job working around those parameters. Do you have anything to add?
Yes. Well, of course, as Andrea has spoken, first off, I want to say I'll never do as good a job as our man, John Lamb here, but I can do my best while he's absent. He has some family things he has to take care of. Yes, as Andrea said, the big or bad news today is Judge Navarro granting these motions in limine by the government. They are effectively muzzle the defense by forbidding any of the defendants to talk about their motivations or their reasons for being there at Bundy Ranch. It's as if they just dropped out of the sky with guns in their hands for no reason whatsoever, and the only thing that Navarro wants to hear the jury to hear in the courtroom is that fact that they were there. Obviously, there's a gigantic, very powerful reasons why they were all there. So this is a really outrageous move on Navarro's part, but as they have seen, granting these motions today is it just adds on to the long list of government motions that Navarro has granted that are destructive to the defense. On the other hand, she's granted hardly any defense motions. I want to say we got lucky today. We got some clouds, a little bit of rain. How do you like that for Las Vegas? The rest of the day, or just about all the day, was taken up with an extremely exhaustive vetting process with all the different jurors, both being questioned both by the prosecution and by the defense team. Individually, their views on different matters, whether or not they can be impartial and fair and focused. As Andrea mentioned, the defense guys, while avoiding any direct questions about the Second or First Amendment, they still managed to get in a few little things in there that showed the knowledge or lack of by the jurors. I have to remark that I don't recall this entire process, exhaustive process of vetting the jurors, as being done at our trial up in Portland. It went from our jury questionnaires, in which a number of the prospective jurors were eliminated right off the bat. It went right from there into the regular voir dire process, where the jurors were brought in and the prosecution and defense had the opportunity and the right to go ahead and reject any of them that they wanted to without explanation. How it worked today was rather more like a debate, but the final decisions were made by Judge Navarro as to who and what juror was going to be kept and what juror was going to be rejected. I think there still is a preliminary process, though, that we're still going to have voir dire at the end of it all. So we'll see. But this is very, in my experience, we didn't do this kind of thing up there in Portland. Whether it has any importance or significance for us on the defense side, I'm not too sure, really. You know. Gosh, let's see. It's wonderful to be here with the gang again. I had to say that. It really truly is.
We're glad to have you down here, too.
Yeah. So come on down, folks.
We'll let this nose go by for a minute. Okay, so when he's saying that the judge is releasing a lot of these witnesses, they're being released based on their answers to the questions, if they show their bias one side or the other. Some of the things that happened this morning, we are now allowed to have our pocket constitutions inside the courtroom. We were informed that when we got here today. We are also now allowed to wear our We the People shirts. And they said we cannot wear any branding shirts like the VO or the LV shirts, but we can wear our We the People shirts in the courtroom. Then downstairs we were having some issues because they were saying that we could not be inside the perimeter, we cannot be on those stairs. Now, the court goers can be on the stairs, but if you're outside and you stay outside and you're technically a protester, you cannot go on the stairs, and they were even saying that we could not make it inside the building. I think later on they came back down and said that we would be able to go to the bathroom. Is that correct, David? Did he come back down and said that we were allowed over in the shaded area and that we will be permitted to be over here, and we were allowed to go into the bathroom? Did he say that?
He kind of backtracked it on that because I said, okay, I want to go to court. He goes, well, you can go to court. I go, okay, then I guess I'm not a protester now. When do I become a protester? I'm not a protester. I'm a supporter.
Right.
But anyway,
what is my state of mind at the time?
Yeah.
Right?
You can't say that.
Okay, so, and then...
From bad cop to good cop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was another thing, the judge herself mentioned the Constitution in the courtroom. That was almost amazing because she pretty much tries to avoid that at all costs. Another thing, Nick Dickerson, I believe his name is no longer on the team of prosecution, so he is no longer in the courtroom. Another thing that was interesting is Stewart Rhodes was on the list for the witness list. There was a lot of new names. They were all highlighted in yellow, but I think Stewart Rhodes...
I think he was on last time as well, right?
His was highlighted, wasn't it? I believe it was highlighted. One person was actually released because she said she knew who Stewart Rhodes was, and her husband drove her to Bunkerville at some point there during the time. So when we go into the actual questions, this is not the questionnaires because they talked about some of that, but when we go into the actual prosecution and defense asking their questions, the government started out with a few questions, and they were really trying to get around finding out who the Second Amendment supporters in the courtroom were. They were objected to their line of questioning for that first question, I want to say 3 different times, and then finally had to reword it. The judge actually had to tell her what the question in the questionnaire that she was talking about was, so that she could reword that question and not get into these other questions. One of the questions that she asked that was objected to is if you were instructed to find a defendant guilty of a crime, and then you were asked to find them guilty of using a gun during that crime, would you find that hard to do? They really tried to work some sneakiness in here in the beginning. It started out their questioning pretty on a low note. They weren't able to get past that with the objections, and the judge did not allow it. Then she tried to ask if anyone would have a problem if someone brandished a weapon. That was immediately objected to because it goes to legal standing, and she had to move on from that as well. They also asked questions if they would find it hard to judge a crime where a police officer was the victim, and if there was anything in your beliefs that would affect how you viewed the case. I want to say that there was very few, I want to say less than a handful of people that actually answered any of those questions for them, and then we went right into the defense. Stephen Stewart's lawyer, Tanasi, asked if they would ever consider protesting, if they knew anyone that protested, or if they would be against protesting against the government. Nobody in the jury pool said that they would be against protesting against the government. Then we talked about a few people that did have people or friends that had gone to a protest, went through some of those. Then we go to Perez. He asked how they get their news, whether it's local news, social media. We had a lot of questions about social media. Leventhal asked how many people knew what a CCW was.
Good one.
And a raise of hands. This was an excellent question. And then how many people had it? Let's see. Lots of people said that they would look forward to hearing both sides of the story, that they were happy to be there. Who was it? Tanasi had, Marchese had some good conversations with a gentleman where he said discourse. He mentioned civil discourse in an answer to one of his questions, and he took that and went around the group asking them what civil discourse was and what they felt that was. It was a really good line of questioning. We got to know a lot about these jurors. This jury selection has got a lot different than the last one. I remember the last time everyone who was asked a question and answered a question, they were all gone. We knew nothing about the people that were left in the jury box. So far today, they haven't used any of their peremptory strikes. But so far, we pretty much know everyone that was left in the courtroom. They talked to everyone. I think at the end, they asked if you hadn't spoke yet and passed it around to hear from those people as well. We ended the day today. Sessions will be in town and down here at the courthouse on Wednesday. We need to get a lot of people together for Wednesday. We want to do a couple of Jericho marches. We want to do one early in the morning. We need to have people down here 7:30 so that we can march around the building while Sessions is here.
Don't we have a set court session tomorrow at 8 in the morning?
Yes, but we can march. We can march before we go to court.
Okay,
is what I'm saying. We need to get bodies down here.
That we do have court tomorrow.
Yes, we do still have court. Tomorrow is Tuesday.
8 a.m.
8:30.
8:30.
8:30, and then Wednesday we want to do the march around the building. We will still have court on Wednesday. We want to do another march at noon. We want to keep this in their eyes. We will possibly have other protesters here. Sessions is in town to talk about sanctuary cities and violence. And so we really want to show our support for this. So if you are in town or anyone near and you can get down here, bring your flags. We need to be down here at the courthouse at 7:30 so we can march around. We've got lots of support. I would say we have more people today starting jury selection than we did last time starting jury selection. That's exciting. I saw a couple posts about us not having supporters down here, but we actually have more than we had for jury selection last time. So I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. Please share the messages. I know that we live streamed the situations that we were having with the security with the building, and some people took that as us being anti-cop. Now, the Metro officer did come down, and we had a nice discussion with him, and we didn't exactly see eye to eye on things, but no one was rude. But you did see what was happening when I came down. There was already something going on, so that wasn't all of it, but we needed to have that on film so that we can have a record of what was going on. Because what was happening here is our rights as protesters down here at the courthouse, they are stomping on our rights down here. Now, the Metro officer, he was very nice to us and did say that, you know, we could unload on the road and that we needed to, he wasn't in charge of telling us we could be on the stairs or couldn't be on the stairs, and that we needed to bring that up with the people that were in charge of that. And that gentleman did come down and elaborate a little more, but we are still going to complain because we have the right to be on those court steps. We have the right to have our flags down here. So we're not sure if that's just for while Sessions is going to be here or not, but we will be following up on that. That's pretty much all I have. Do you have anything else, Neil?
For the Republic, ladies and gentlemen.
Have a good night.
See you in Vegas.
Not in the courtroom. She wanted to rule on these motions and put her decree out there, not in front of we the people. She didn't want to hear any arguments. She just ruled in the ruled for the prosecution. So she has limited our defense and limited the questions that we could ask the...
G, boys.
All right, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
We're testing out a new mic.
We're testing out this mic. Please let me know if you can hear me, and also if you can hear Neil.
Yeah, here's me. Can you hear me?
I got it good.
Can you say if you can hear Neil? Go ahead. All right, we're trying a new mic right now. Can you let me know if you can hear me?
And please let me know if you can hear me too, okay?
Nobody yet.
Okay.
We'll give it a minute to let some people get on.
Yeah.
There's one.
Jurors. I believe we couldn't ask any questions about the Constitution, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. I did feel that our lawyers did a pretty good job working around those parameters. You have anything to add?
Yes. Well, of course, as Andrea has spoken, first off, I want to say I'll never... Can you hear me?
Can you guys hear Neil? Yes, we can hear you both.
All right. Okay, so we're going to start this and do the last update again because a lot of people were saying they couldn't hear. We went in today and the judge had ruled on the motions while she was...